Okay, welcome to my opening tutorial on the Ultimate Strength template. This is going to take just a couple of minutes to just look at the overview of the template, and if you so choose, you can then delve into it a bit more and look at some other specifics of it. So as you can see, this is the main layout of the first week. I've gone week by week. So you've got day 1, day 2, day 3, day 4, and then week 1, week 2, week 3, and week 4. If you need to, you can tack on extra weeks just by adding an extra column and then copying across the other week. Keeping in mind that if you do that, you'll then need to do that for your other tabs as well, so your athlete tabs. So the way this is designed is that this is the template tab or the parent tab, and any program that you write on here will then be copied to the athlete tab. So this is basically a direct copy of the template, and the way it's individualized is through individualized 1RMs here. That will then be read straight onto their program. So just having a general look, you've got the athlete or the athlete's names up here. For this one, you won't need one as a template, but for the other tabs on below, you will. So athlete A, B, and C. You can put as many athletes on there as you like. Their 1RMs will currently exist up the top, and it's up to you if you'd like to fill them all in or not. Any notes you'd like to have, the loading for the week, any pre-gym questionnaires you'd like to have on wellness, and so on. Any post-gym questionnaires, potentially about some RPE data along there as well. So I've made room for 6 exercises, 6 main lifts, and then 3 accessory lifts on the bottom. And then the volume, loading, and intensity down the bottom here, as well as the weekly rep count and stimulating reps for hypertrophy. So we'll go through that in a later video as well. So let's just start by looking at these tabs on the bottom. So we have the template, of course, which is the parent calendar or the parent program, which are then copied onto athlete A, B, and C, and as many as you'd like to create from there. We'll then have our exercise list here, starting from the back squat, all the exercises that exist that you want to then program off of the back squat, and so on. Front squat, deadlift, hip thrust, bench press, military press, bench pull, chin up, snatch, clean, jerk, and then the accessories where you're not so reliant on their 1RM values. So the exercise here next is their percent 1RM. So obviously a back squat will be 100% of a back squat, a parallel back squat potentially 105%. It's up to you as the numbers you create for those. The displacement coefficient, so this is a way of me recording the amount the bar moves. Now this number you can play with, and if you don't want to use it, that's fine. You can just record it as 100%. Over here is the actual one that you may use at a later date, and then you can just transfer that across. Any URLs that may exist for that video, so that when you go back to the template or the athlete's program, the URL will exist down here, and the athletes can click on that when they're using their iPad or their laptop. And again, the displacement coefficient that you're actually going to use later on. Any 1RMs that you'd like to use, including their body weight, will exist in this tab. So names, again, can go all the way down here, and you can make these as long as you like. The force velocity equations we'll talk about in a later video as well. These basically are the variables that exist for a polynomial, the second order equation, which will then read into here, which is our objective intensity. And then our general lists tab. So this will talk about, this is just more of a housekeeping. So our 1RMs that currently exist. The athletes' names will go from here. The load classification, so where it exists currently up the top here. Now these exercises here are where body weight has to be adjusted for. And again, you can continue this all the way down. So for a push-up, anecdotal information, and from my own experience, it takes up about 56%, so 0.56. Similar for a TRX row, pistol squat, again, very similar. And then you can use whatever numbers you like from there on. So just going back to the template, as we start here, we've got the exercise will go here. any descriptions and or tempo you'd like for the exercise, the rest you'd like in between sets, and the URL will show up if you have a URL to go along with the exercise. Once you select your reps and sets, so you may go with a couple of sets of 3, and let's go with a back squat. You will then decide which exercise to base that off of. So I'm going to go back squat here. There's no 1RMs entered in as yet. Your percentage could be 80%. If you'd like, you can have a subjective intensity, so you may prescribe using RPE, so you may say it's a 7 out of 10, 8 out of 10, a 5 out of 10, or you can use reps in reserve, so you may say that here that you have 3 reps in reserve with that, and they'll have to fill that in accordingly to the side. Objective intensity will appear in a later video. We'll talk about if you have an exercise that is listed in the force velocity equations down here. And then our loading. So prescribed loading based on what you've said here will appear here for the athletes. Any adjusted weight, so if you're using a chin-up, it will take your body weight into consideration and then minus your body weight and using the remaining weight. And then the actual load that you lifted. So keeping in mind that if you do a chin-up, or if you have prescribed a chin-up, the athlete will only have to enter the load that they lifted apart from their body weight. I've actually inbuilt a automatic progressive overload as well. So this can either be decided on more of a guesstimation or a bit of history, or maybe this is a requirement that you've talked about with some of your staff. So what will happen is if we're asking for a 10% annual overload, it will then automatically calculate for every week how much is required to achieve that 10% overload. And then that will be applied across here. So next week it will go up to 100.3%, 100.6, 100.9, and so on. And that is directly read straight from the template. So if you wish to change that for an individual, you can, that's fine. But for the time being, it's just highlighted here. Okay, so that's the overview for the Ultimate Strength template. If you would like to watch any other videos, in particular on the force velocity equations, feel free to do so. I've also got videos on the monitoring and how that can be used as easily as possible using some other functions that Google Drive has to offer. Okay, we'll see you soon.